Hello, Frederick, us, Torbjörn, us, the Scandinavians are early. Rochelle from Canada, us, Sensei Claudio, us. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining in. Today is Solsai's birthday, so happy birthday. Actually, I've written it in the book, but it's actually not his birthday. There's a little confusion. It depends what calendar you look at. But in that time in Korea, they used different calendars. They used a solar calendar and a lunar calendar and even a solar lunar calendar. So sometimes I know Solsai's family regards his birthday as June 8, and depends which calendar you look at. It can also be June 14, but the equivalent in the West is July 27. So here we go. Us. Hey, Alan. Thanks for coming on board. Look, I know the background is a little strange here today because what I've done is I've moved indoors. We have these incredible winds. As I look out the window there, I can see trees just bending and blowing and just completely out of shape. And when that happens, we have problems with the Wi-Fi, the network. So I thought I could have pushed it, but I changed my mind. I thought I'd come in here from the very start because it's fairly clear what we're doing today with the 1,000 punches on Solsai. Us Kets, good to see you, man. And Budi from Indonesia, thanks for coming. Us, thanks everyone. So we're just going to go into that. Torbjörn, look at this jacket, man. You know, it is so cold up here in the mountain at the moment. I think it got down to 14 degrees. Well, they reckon it's going to be 7 tonight. But inside it's even colder. I actually went outside early morning and sat in the sun because it was warmer than it was inside. Kisholaya Majumda Namaste, Namaskar. Thanks for coming along. So we're going to do the 1,000 punches. And also you may have noticed I'm going to join in. I'm going to do it again tonight in another 5 hours. Okay, so Urs Paul from Germany, good to see you, man. So in 5 hours, I'm going to come back and do it again, just because I know some people couldn't get along. And if you want to do it twice, you're welcome. I will do 1,000 punches today, 1,000 punches in 5 hours today as well, which for some people will be tomorrow. But for some people, that's not far enough apart. Urs. Oh, good on you, Daniel. Good to hear. Yeah, so Australia in some areas they're heading back to being online. I mean, I'm being in the dojo operating again, so that's good news. Us, lizard techniques, yeah, like flat out like a lizard in the sun. That's what we need. Clarence from South Africa. Us, Rodney and Clarence right next to each other. Good. Rod. Nihon kara kite kudasaimasu. Arigatou gozaimasu. Good to see everyone. Look, we'll just do the 1,000 punches. I do 1,000 kicks too, but my knee won't allow it. And I just hobble along and you'd all be so disappointed. But anyway, I hope you're going to join in. We'll do a little bit of a warm-up. I've already warmed up because of the space. As you can see, there's not a lot of space. So I went ahead and had a little bit of a stretch earlier on. I'm getting so many inquiries about the logbooks, so thank you very much. I'm speaking to the web guys, and they're fixing something up for me even as we talk to put an order page up. I'm on to Frederick and also Torbjörn. We're going to have to send some books to Frederick, and then he can post them on. So I'll speak to you, Frederick. Actually, I need to have a chat to you so we know exactly. I think it's 9 at this stage, so we know exactly how many to send through, and I'll package them off as soon as possible. Abel, good morning. Good to see you, man, from Spain. Okay, if you're not already a subscriber, please do so. Hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. Otherwise, share it around. We don't have a lot of subscribers, but I know if we were to share the video, then we might get a little more interest. Urs, Herman, Ken. Good on you, Ken. You must be late there, 3rd of 25. It must be, what, close to midnight there in Florida, 11 p.m., midnight or so. So good on you, Ken. Yep, Sensei Claudia, that's what we still do. And this year, I have a video of it. I didn't post it up, but I'll do that actually. But what we do on the 1st of January is we go to the local waterfall, which is more like a tap dripping, because remember, in our January 1, it's the middle of the dry season. It's this year it was in the middle of the dry season, so there wasn't a lot of water. So it was like a tap rather than a big waterfall. But anyway, went there. We did 1,000 punches or 2,000, can't remember. But we didn't do the kicks, obviously, because the rocks are like this under the waterfall. But we did it at least 1,000, if not more. 1 a.m. Yeah, I figured it might be about 1 a.m. Good on you. Thanks, Frederick. Yeah, good. Don't forget to hit like and leave a message afterwards. There's so many messages, and I normally get right on the messages within a day or two, but I've neglected them for a week because I'm really focused on getting the book ready. It was 2020. Yeah, it was the beginning of this year. Chrissy Dunn, he was there for our waterfall training. So good on you, Chrissy. So anyway, look, I've just, once again, I'm whilst the graphic designer is doing certain sections of the book, I'm editing other sections, and I've just added some fantastic stuff, and I'm really excited about the book. It's just going to be so exciting. I really think that, I think even if it wasn't my book, 2020 tech, yeah, that's what we did. There you go. Chrissy Dunn just pointed out to us. Chrissy Dunn, my nephew, he was with us on January 1 at the Kagami Biraki, as they call it, the opening training session, and we did 2020 techniques for 2020. See, this year was 2020. So we did 2020 hand techniques. So that was very cool. So today we'll do 1,000 punches. We'll have a little bit of a stretch warm up with our shoulders. And we get, Paddy, good to see you, man. Hope everything's going down there. Thinking of you all the time, Paddy, because I know just on the Monday you opened, the Tuesday they shut you down. And that was a terrible state of affairs for the state of Victoria. And it's still looking tough. I worry about you guys, and I also, of course, worry about my own daughter who's down there in the midst of it. Anyway, enough chatter. We'll have a bit of a chat later. If you've got any comments or questions afterwards, just put them in the chat, and we'll come back in about half an hour when we've finished the 1,000 punches. Let's go. Thanks for joining in. Arms, it's ni, san, shi, hanta, ich, ni, san, shi, opposites, ich, ni, san, hanta, ich, ni, san, shoulders, ich, ni, san, shi, hanta, ich, ni, san, shi, migi, san, chindachi, oi. Mote. Mashi, uke, ich, ni, san, to the left. Sheep, go behind, up, pitch down, hard, nore, hands together, gasho. In Japanese, this is called gasho. Coming up, 1, stretch the wrist, 2, 3, itch, ni, san, itch, ni, san. Good. Fingertips together, nice and close. Itch, ni, san, chi, go. Itch, hutch, kuju, and push it out. Itch, keep the tension tight and strong. Ni, san, chi, go, go. Itch, hutch. Good. Shake the hands. Look, I take my thumb towards myself, and I put my hand on the back, and I stretch up. Itch. This is an Aikido stretch, and Aikido do a lot of wrist work, so if your wrists aren't strong and flexible, you'll give it away very quickly. Now from there, I just simply turn my hand up, and I grab the mound of Venus, this beefy part of the thumb, and I press down. Itch, ni, san, chi, go, go. Once again, thumb, fingers down, thumb towards myself, and I just grab the back of my wrist, up, itch, ni, san, She, go, rock. Turn it over and grab the beefy part of the thumb. It's neat, son, she, go, rock. Shake it off. Good. I'm just going to quickly check those last couple of messages. Damien, it's good to see you, man. Paddy, good on you, man. We're thinking of you. Keep it up. Us, Rob, from down the mountain. Good on you, man. So let's do these 1,000 punches, guys. If I lose my voice on the way through, forgive me. I'll do what I can to recover as quickly as I can as well. Okie doke. York. Migi, Sanshin, Dachi. Migi, Sanshin, Dachi. York. Come on, tap. Sup. Chew down, skip. It's. Eight. Sun. Shape. Go. Go. So I'll do lots of 200. Okay. Kia it up. Let's. Hey. Hum. Hey. Go. Up. Hey. Hut. Go. Go. Let. Hey. Hum. Hey. Ho. Ho. Hey. Ho. Hoo. Hoo. Hey. Hey. Hum. Hey. Ho. Ho. Hey. Ho. Hoo. Saluda. It. Hey. Hum. Hey. Go. Up. Hut. Hut. Go. Go. Let's. Hey. Hum. Hey. Go. Up. Hut. Hut. Go. Go. It. Hey. Hum. Hey. Go. Up. Hut. Hut. Go. Go. Shoot. It. Hey. Hum. Hey. Go. Up. Hit. Hut. Go. Run up. Hit. Hey. Hum. Hey. Ho. Go. Hey. Ho. Hoo. Hut. Hit. Hey. Hum. Hey. Go. Go. Hey. Hut. Hoo. You. Hit. Hey. Hum. Hey. Go. Hut. Hit. Hut. Hoo. Yuck. Hit. Hey. Hum. Hey. Ho. Go. Hey. Ho. Hoo. You. Hey. Hey. Hum. Hey. Go. Hut. Hit. Hut. Hoo. You. Hit. Hey. Hum. Hey. Ho. Go. Hey. Ho. Hoo. You. Hit. Hey. Hum. Hey. Go. Hut. Hit. Hut. Hoo. You. Hit. Hey. Hum. Hey. Go. Go. Hey. Ho. Hoo. You. Hit. Hey. Hum. Hey. Go. Look. Hit. Hut. Hoo. You. Hit. Hey. Hum. Hey. Go. Go. Hey. Ho. Hoo. Hit. Hit. Hey. Hum. Hey. Go. Go. Hey. Ho. Hoo. Hut. Hit. Hey. Hum. Hey. Go. Look. Hit. Hut. Hoo. You. Hit. Hey. Hum. Hey. Go. Go. Hey. Ho. Hoo. Up here. Jordan skip. Hit. Hey. Hum. Hey. Go. Look. So 200 Jordan. 200 Aguch. 200 Uraken. And finish off with 200 middle again. So Jordan skip. Kia tip. Let's. Hey. Ho. Hey. Go. Go. Hey. Ho. 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 Hey. Hey. Hum. Hey. Ho. Go. Hey. Ho. Hoo. Hey. Let's. Hey. Hum. Hey. Go. Go. Hey. Ho. Hoo. Stand up. Let's. Hey. Ho. Hey. Go. Look. Hit. Hut. Go. Yon up. Hit. Hey. Hum. Hit. Go. Look. Hit. Hut. Go. Go up. Hit. Hey. Ho. Hey. Ho. Go. Here. Ho. Hoo. Ro. Hit. Me. Some. Hey. Ho. Go. Hey. Ho. Hoo. Hut. Hit. Hey. Hum. Hey. Here. Ho. Here. Ho. Hoo. Here. Hit. Hey. Hum. Hey. Ho. Look. Hit. here, ho, ho, here, ho, here, yonder, hit, heat, up, heat, up, hut, 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 you, go you, hit, he, home, he, ho, ho, here, ho, you, Roger, hit, he, home, he, ho, ho, here, ho, you, hit, hit, he, home, he, ho, ho, here, ho, you, hut, hut, he, ho, he, ho, up, hut, up, you, you, hit, he, he, ho, ho, here, ho, you, yep, I go chip, you could flip, flip, go, oh, get up, hit, hip, up, hip, up, look, hip, up, hip, 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 on, hip, up, hip, 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 hit, he, hum, he, ho, ho, here, ho, who, hum, here, hum, here, ho, ho, here, ho, who, hum, here, hum, here, ho, ho, here, ho, who, go yup, it, he, hum, he, ho, here, ho, who, here, hum, here, ho, here, ho, who, it, he, hum, here, ho, here, ho, who, hut, it, he, hum, here, ho, here, ho, who, you, it, he, hum, here, ho, here, ho, who, kaka, it, he, hum, here, ho, here, ho, who, here, hum, here, go, look, it, what, who, yup, it, he, hum, here, ho, here, ho, who, Sonia, it, he, hum, here, go, hey, ho, who, Yonya, hey, hum, hey, ho, hey, ho, who, Yonya, it, he, hum, here, go, here, ho, who, here, hum, here, ho, here, ho, who, it, he, hum, here, ho, here, ho, who, here, he, hum, here, ho, here, ho, who, it, he, hum, here, ho, it, who, that's okay, so got into that one. I may have lost count a bit, but I love the Agauchi because it's an explosive thing. Urakan, Gamuch. Remember, hands, chin height, but the hands aren't touching. You want enough room for a piece of paper between the hands. Slowly, itch, hip, thumb, hip, go, oh, get hip, itch, he, hum, he, ho, hitch, hodge, you, hitch, he, hum, he, ho, here, ho, you, hitch, he, hum, he, ho, hitch, hodge, you, Sanya, hitch, he, hum, he, go, hitch, you, yonder, hitch, he, hum, he, go, here, ho, you, go, hitch, he, hum, he, ho, hit, hut, you, ho, hit, he, hum, he, ho, here, ho, you, go, hitch, he, hum, he, hum, oh, 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 it's, hey, 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 oh, up, it's, hutch, who, it's here, it's, hey, hey, go, here, ha, who, ha, here, hey, here, oh, go, here, ha, who, oh, here, 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 oh, go, it's, hutch, who, chugga, it's, hey, here, go, here, hutch, who, do, it's, hey, here, go, here, ha, who, here, 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 go, here, ha, who, here, 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 go, here, ho, who, here, 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 go, here, ha, who, go, here, 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 go, here, ha, who, go, it, it, up, up, it, up, it, hey, up, it, up, hey, 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 here, ho, who, it, up, it, up, it, up, it, hey, hey, here, up, who, give you, it, hey, here, up, it, up, who, yeah. Shoot that skip. Last 200. It, it, it. Get it. It, he, he, oh, no, here, ho, who, you, it, he, here, oh, no, here, ho, who, here, it, here, here, oh, up, it, up, you, sound up, it, he, he, oh, no, here, ha, who, you, up, it, 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 up, it, up, you, goes up, it, he, here, oh, no, here, ha, who, goes up, it, here, here, oh, no, here, ha, who, it, he, he, oh, here, ho, who, ha, here, 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 ho, here, ha, who, here, 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 Shinkoku, deep breathe, itch. Right. Some. Hey. Grab a drink if you like. Tidy up. I'll be right back. Don't want to sit in Cesar on a wooden floor. It blows my knees out too much. Let's have a look. Where's Hugo? Good to see you, man. Hope you're still up, and I hope you did 1,000 punches with us. But it's nice to see your name anyway, Hugo, all the way from Montreal. Raj. Raj Kumar from Nepal. Namaste. Kenneth Us from Melbourne. And Paddy, good on you, man. I hope you did it with us. And if you've got any plans for training tonight, I hope you do it then with your own students, of course. My glasses are fogging up as always. Was Harry from down the mountain. Good on you, Rochelle. Hope you joined in. So this is a great tradition in Kyokushin. At the end of a big thing or at the beginning of a big thing, we tend to do 1,000 punches, 1,000 kicks. It's a tradition from Hombu in Japan that goes back a long time, at least to the 70s that I know of, because that's when I first did it. Good on you, pal. Yeah, doesn't it feel good? And when you get into that rhythm, I just wish, I hate to say it, but I wish I didn't have to count, because when you get into that rhythm, I think at one stage there in the Aguuchi, I lost count because I was having so much fun. And I just kind of, I'm sure if you went back and counted the Aguuchi, you'll find I probably did 10 or 20 more or less. But anyway, yeah, it's great fun. And that's the whole value. I did a bit of research at one stage into the benefits of Kyokushin. Well, martial arts in general, but particularly Kyokushin. And its effect, the benefits on PTSD. Generally speaking, PTSD is an incredibly difficult thing to uproot, especially depending on the causes of it. But from my research, which started when I was a very young boy, because when I was in high school, I was fairly short. My uncle was a famous jockey, and my whole family figured I'd follow in his footsteps. But as much as I love horses, I didn't love them that much. Good on you, Raj. Yeah, today's the day we celebrate Solsai's birthday. But anyway, I think that's too strong. So I didn't want to be a jockey. So I started to look into different things, and I found a therapy, which it's kind of gone out of favor now. I just think because perhaps there wasn't enough research, but the primal screaming therapy, many people would have heard of it for sure. The primal screaming therapy, and it really struck me when I read about it. I had to write a paper for my physical education studies at high school, and I wrote it on primal screaming and its connection to ki, because ki, spirit, I, meet your spirit. So ki is as close a translation in Japanese to primal screaming as you could find. The whole concept of primal screaming, at least in one interpretation, was that by yelling and screaming super loud, you would release certain primal energies which get caught up by the psychology. The psychology creates this spider web, and we can't get this energy flowing. And PTSD quite often is damaged that as a result, obviously, of trauma that has happened in the past. And it's very difficult to uproot simply because the brain doesn't even exist in the same way. You know, someone without PTSD who is in a normal frame of mind can reference something, an experience that they have right now, and recognize that it has nothing to do with an experience in the past, or recognize that there is no danger in that experience and process it. Whereas people with PTSD, deep trauma, they can have an experience which triggers the feelings they had as a result of their trauma 10, 15, 20, 40 years ago. And their brain cannot differentiate between that experience then and that experience now. So in reality, they are re-experiencing it. Now, to fix that, you've got to rebuild the synapses. They've done research where they'll put electrodes on the brain and watch the way it fires, and they'll have two people with the same experience. One is traumatized from the past, one is not. And the places that the brain fires off are different in the two of them, simply because the person who suffered PTSD or who's suffering PTSD doesn't have the same synapses. So you've got to rebuild those synapses. And I'm convinced that Kyokushin does it better than any other martial art in the world. And why is that? Primarily because of the volume of loud kiais and the volume of bilateral motion. Yes. Well, kiai is chi. The Japanese word ki is the same as the Chinese word chi. And so even in India, the word comes from prana, or energy. So it's that internal life force energy. And people say, well, it doesn't exist, you can't measure it. Well, that may be true, but the point is you can take a human body and you can artificially electrify it so you have energy running. You can artificially pump the heart, and you can send blood through the system and send electricity through the nerve system. So for all intents and purposes, it's doing everything that a living body does. The only thing missing is the chi, the life force. I've written a whole section. This is so fascinating to me, where the life force enters the body, how it's distributed. I have one friend who I've mentioned her before, Nita Goel. She's MIT listed her as one of the 30 great minds under 30 in the world. And she was doing research in energy in the body. She was a physicist, MIT trained physicist. She wanted to do research into the energy movement in the body. So she actually went back to Harvard Medical School and did her medical degree. So she's not only a physicist, she's also a physician. Amazing. And what she did was when I was talking to her a number of years ago, her research was all about where the energy comes in the body and at what point and where in the body does that energy convert into electrical energy, in other words, neurological energy, and then where that neurological energy then converts into mechanical energy. So your brain receives the energy, the brain sends an electrical message down it sends an electrical message down the nerves and tells the hand to lift up and form a fist. Okay, so that one stage, the energy transfers from electrical energy into mechanical energy. It's quite incredible. And she said, and I asked her how she's going. She said, I think we've got it. I don't know. It's very difficult to measure something which is not in the phenomenal world, so to speak. It's almost a metaphysical sort of life force, that pranic energy. Yes, that's correct. Post-traumatic stress disorder, exactly. But she said, we think we've got it, that it happens at the DNA level. But anyway, inspiring stuff. And the reason we were talking about it was I was talking about PTSD and the research I've been doing and the benefits of karate training, particularly the bilateral motion, because by using bilateral motion, you balance the two hemispheres, and the yelling and the kiais. And you can see it if you run a dojo, you'll see some people have a lot of trouble kiai. They're reserved, they pull it back. But once they open up and get that kiai going, and all of a sudden their whole consciousness changes. Kiai is one of the 5 necessary components of a valid. Yes, indeed. Man, koten, totski. Sorry, Damien, I'm not taking the mickey out of kendo. I was just having wonderful memories of when I lived in Japan as a high school kid. I was in the kendo club for a year, and I had so much fun, man. And it's interesting because I've mentioned it in the book, but Funakoshi Gichin, his son, Gigo, Funakoshi Gigo, was very innovative, and he introduced a lot of really innovative stuff into karate. And one of the things that he introduced was the cross-training of the footwork. And he introduced a lot of the kendo footwork. And if you want to see how fast a human being can cover a gap of 3 meters, go and watch kendo. They are so fast that it's almost, to me, I've watched it over and over, and I see the referees and they'll score a point, and I cannot see it until I slow it down to like a tenth of this, 10 times the speed, and then you just see that the shinai just tap someone like this, man. They're so fast. Do you do kendo, Damien? That's interesting. We've all got short circuits, Harry. I've got a few short circuits too. I'm sure if you ask my wife, she'd tell you that. I loved kendo, and I've got to tell you this amazing story too. Many years ago, when my dojo was in the Brisbane YMCA, that's so cool, Damien. Well, you'll know who I'm talking about now when I say it. We originally I was in the PCYC, didn't last there very long at all. And then I went up to the YMCA, and we were training there 4 nights a week. And we were sharing the space with the Brisbane Kendo Club. And the Brisbane Kendo Club has a really solid history. And then we moved out of there into Margaret Street. And then finally I built my own dojo. I got my own dojo, which to this day I regret selling, but it was called The Hanger, and it had a beautiful sprung wooden floor. And my buddy John Isaacs, who was running the kendo club in Brisbane, approached me. They had a visitor coming, and he was a 10th Dan named Nakakura Sensei. So Damien, no doubt you'll know of Nakakura Sensei. He was this 10th Dan, and at that stage, I believe he was about 78 years old, and he was doing randori, practice sword work, with guys in their 20s and 30s. He was 78, and not one of them could touch him. Not only could they not touch him, he was outpointing them every time. He would just be there, and he literally knew what they were going to do before they even knew they were doing it. So when you look at kendo, he is one of the legends. So it was a real honor to have him teach in my dojo for about a full week. I think they were there. They just borrowed the dojo, put a few heel holes in some of the sprung. We had a few boards that we'd split ourselves, and the kendo boys certainly made sure they finished the job on those split boards. But he was quite amazing, and kendo is stunning to me. I love one of my favorite all-time martial artists is Yamaoka Teshu, of course, from the 19th century. But not only that, there's that beautiful documentary of the gentleman in Japan who'd failed his 7th Dan, I believe, 27 times. For 27 years in a row, he turned up and attempted his 7th Dan, and he failed it 27 times in a row. Could you imagine a single person in the Kyokushin world just going, well, if they failed me, I must have done something wrong. I'll come back next year. Instead, what they do, they fail their 2nd Dan, or they don't get their 3rd Dan or whatever. And the next thing you know, they go off and, approach another organization and go, well, I did my 3rd Dan, but they wouldn't give it to me because they were jealous. So if I join yours, will you give me a 4th Dan sort of thing? It's a bit of a fool's game, that sort of thing. So I hope you enjoyed that 1,000 punches. I certainly did, and I'm going to back up and do it again tonight in a few hours, which will be a lot of fun as well. In fact, I may even do it here because it's just so windy outside. I'm just looking at the trees, and it's windy and cold, and the Wi-Fi won't work. I hope some of you did it with me, or was I there all by myself with you all sitting back with your feet up having a corn chips and salsa? But anyway, so exciting times ahead with the books. I'm very excited. I'm actually into the process of the illustrations now, as you may know. I haven't got any here, But I did the illustrations for the first edition, and I've done some more calligraphies and some more illustrations for the new one today. So I spoke to the layout graphic designer, my good buddy Willie, today, and we're working on the illustrations to make sure us. Oh, well, maybe your neighbors will come over and go, that was really interesting. Will you tell us what you're doing? It was amazing. I plan to do 1,000 punches and kicks with my students online. Good. Well done. Of course. Yeah, good on you, Fred. I trust most of you do, but I wouldn't call out anyone if they didn't, because everyone has their own life and times. But anyway, listen, it's a real short one tonight. How about that? It's only 16:40. Unless you got any questions, I'll give you 5 minutes to get some questions down, and otherwise I'll wind it up. Nice and short today, but thanks for joining in for the 1,000 punches. I really enjoyed that. It was great to have a little sweat there, and look forward if you can come back in 5 hours, 4 hours and 20 minutes. I'll be doing it again, so you can join in. Usrod, without a clear and powerful leader like Solsai, like the Shogun united all these rival clans, Solsai built a true organization. Yeah, we're in a period of fragmentation. That's true, Rod. The only thing we can do is, the first thing you got to do is connect to an organization which has parampara. Let me write that down. Parampara. That's not even a Japanese word. That's actually a Sanskrit word, which means the unbroken lineage from teacher to disciple. Okay, and all true paths in India worth their salt can clearly outline their lineage all the way back to the original source. And I think that's really important for us. So, Kisholaya Majumdar. According to me, which one's the best? Well, I don't think there is best. I can tell you there's an awful lot that aren't good, and they need to be avoided. So I would suggest, first of all, you find an organization that is honest, that doesn't give away belts for the sake of giving away belts. I tend to think they all did that for a while, in the early stages anyway, to try and establish some sort of authority through numbers. Of the big ones, I think the Matsui groups changed all their style of training. They've gone in a line with the traditional non-contact styles now, I think probably as an attempt to get part of the Olympic movement. I think Shin Kyokushin is doing a fantastic job from what I can see. They're really doing well. They've got some great people in their organization. The Matsui group's got some great people in their organization too, and all credit to them. They're there for one reason, and that is loyalty to Solsai, because they believe that has that parampara. Us. No worries, Mike. You just finished. You didn't miss much. It was just doing 1,000 punches. But I'll be back at 8 tonight, which I guess is 5 your time. Did you say you want to do online training? Yes, I'm coming back at 8 p.m., Kenneth, for another 1,000 punches. Why is it difficult to change Kyokushin and understand that it's different from other styles of martial arts? Why is it difficult to change to Kyokushin and understand that it's different? Well, there's probably a dozen answers to that, but in essence, Abel, it's basically a mindset. It's an approach. That's all. You need good instructors. You need a connection to Japan. I really believe that. You need a connection to Solsai and a connection to Japan. There are some good big organizations that don't have a connection to Japan, but at the end of the day, what happens when that person who leads it moves on? Then no one else in the organization has a connection to Japan. So unfortunately, I really think it's good to have a connection to Japan, a connection to Solsai. The group I follow, Sol Kyokushin, I'm very, very happy. And just because of my position over the years, I was involved in different groups, and not only involved with them, but involved in helping to set them up. had different groups, and I got to see different approaches, different personalities, and I'm very, very impressed and pleased with Oishi Hanshi, who was one of Solsai's Uchideshi and has been loyal and been teaching and training Kyokushin forever. Yes, that's correct, Kenneth. 8 p.m. tonight. Al, good to see you, man. Hope you're well. Yes, Solsai wrote tournament rules, but essentially it's just a mindset. That's the difference between Kyokushin and other styles, really. I mean, having said that, there's more similarities and differences. If you were to get 10 people from 10 karate styles, essentially the punches are the same. They're hitting with the same part. The biomechanics are roughly the same. Some have got the double hip twist, and some have got their weight on the opposite foot and so on. It's just minor details different. There's more similarities and differences, but at the end of the day, Kyokushin, I think, it established itself as a different thing through the bare fist, full contact tournaments. Unfortunately, Kyokushin karate in the Olympics, I do not believe would be good. Just look what happened to traditional Taekwondo. Well, you could be right there. I tend to agree. Can't see it happen. I remember the first time I watched Taekwondo Olympics, and I've never felt like committing suicide in my life other than when I watched Taekwondo in the Olympics. It was as far away from a real fighting system as anything. It's probably improved, if anything, now. Yeah, so lots of good qualities in Kyokushin. Like I said, I think that one aspect about dealing with PTSD is better in Kyokushin than in any other system, bar none. And I'd be happy to sit down and discuss that with anybody. I wouldn't tell them they're wrong. I'd be really interested in finding out people's alternative view. Yeah, well, I'd be surprised if next year's Olympic even goes ahead. It's all just a money thing, of course. Once your sport connects to the Olympics, you receive a lot more funding. So obviously, the Matsui group thought, well, here's a good opportunity. I don't know anything about North Korea. I've never been there, and I think there's two different styles of Taekwondo, the main ones, and one of them is ITF and International Taekwondo Federation, and the other one is the WTF, World Taekwondo. One's in the Olympics, one's not. And I've got my good buddy Jim Sheedy, runs a Taekwondo school in Sydney. I go down every year and do seminars there, and his guys are more similar in their mindset to Kyokushin than they are to Olympic Taekwondo. So don't worry about that. They've got great kicks. They've got the Taekwondo. They've got all the pluses of Taekwondo and all the pluses of full contact karate, but they avoid other problems. So anyway, that'll be an interesting thing. I don't know that the Olympics can go ahead next year with this COVID-19, even if things started to return to normal. The problem is, if Japan was 100% clear of COVID-19, let's say, well, what are they going to do? Are they going to open the door to 120 Olympic countries and let them fly in, and then everybody goes into 2 weeks quarantine, then the Olympics, then 2 more weeks? It's just, logistically, I just can't imagine the Olympics happening next year. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that the virus, we all wake up one day and all of a sudden the virus starts to disappear, like the end of a storm, when, all of a sudden you look out and it's beautiful and clear. I don't know. I can't imagine the Olympics going ahead at this stage. They're talking about travel bubbles. They're talking about a bubble between Australia and New Zealand, but then look what happens in Victoria. So it's just hard to imagine. I think the international airline industry is going to take years to recover until they can be certain. I mean, how can two countries that are COVID safe allow flights hubbing through places which aren't COVID safe? Okay, guys, it's great to chat, and thank you for joining in for the 1,000 punches. I really appreciate it. Everybody coming along, thank you. Don't forget, Patreon crowd, I love you, and I love what you're doing for me. It's allowing me to do some wonderful things, and I've got some more and more great things going on. So thank you, Patreon crowd. If you're not part of the Patreon family, go and check it out. Just look up my Patreon address. Thank you for joining in. Subscribe, share, like, get the word out. Thank you, everyone. Huang Jiang Li was a proper traditional Taekwondo master. He has an instructional video called 108 Ways of Kicking. Yeah, I've seen that video. I've heard of it. Appeared numerous, Jackie Chan and other. Yeah, there are some great Taekwondo instructors. Have a nice day, everyone. That's the words. Thanks, Torbjörn. Good to see everyone. Namaste. Arigato. Kansha. Itashimasu.